Okay, this is Unit 3, Lesson 6, and this is where students are multiplying two-digit numbers. So a two-digit number by a two-digit number, and neither of the numbers is really that friendly. None of them are multiples of 10, so sometimes this can be a little tricky. One strategy that the students are learning to use would be base 10 blocks. So using the 100 blocks, the 10 rods, and then the ones, like the units. So students would first demonstrate 13 times 21, and we want to focus on the 13th. And I always tell students, think of it as length times width. Okay, because we're kind of trying to find the area, like how many squares or how many 1 units it would take to fill up this entire rectangle that we're going to be creating. So if our length was 13, we would know, or students would know, that a 100 block has a length of 10. Now if we were to add another 100 block down here, our length would now be 10 plus 10, which would be 20. So it's actually, that's too much, right? So we'll just erase that one. So that would be too much. So all we actually need, and I'll use a different color, are 3 more squares down. Now I can't just add 3 squares, so I'm going to do rods. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3. So altogether, okay, we have 10 and then 3, so that would be 13. Now we can move on to our 21. So students already look in here, and across we have 10. They would recognize that there's 10 already. So if I add another 100, that would be another 10 across. So 10 plus 10 is 20. And I need one more, so I'm going to add a 10 rod. So now I have 21. Okay? Now we have to fill in all this empty space right here, right? We can't just leave it blank, because we want to create a perfect rectangle, and we have this big gaping hole that we need to fill in. So students would notice that if we put another 10 rod here, another 10 rod here, and another 10 rod here, we would fill up that part. Now we can't fit a 10 rod in this area right here, right? There's just not enough space. We can't fit a 100 block in there, so they would have to use ones. So they would use 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so now they would look at how many hundreds they have, and they have 2 hundreds. Okay, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tens, and then they have 1, 2, 3, 3 ones. So now all we're going to do is multiply these. So that would be 200. 7 times 10 would be 70. And 3 times 1 would be 3. If we were to stack these and add them, which I did, and I made sure that all of my numbers were in the proper place value, so 0 plus 0 plus 3 would be 3, 0 plus 7 is 7, and 2 plus, well, there's nothing else there, that would just be 2. So their answer would be 273. Students, instead of using base 10 blocks, could also use what do you call it? Grid paper. Yes, they could use grid paper to do the same thing on, only they would draw it instead of manipulating actual blocks. So either ways, it is fine, and you would end up with the same answer.